Panel, thanks very much indeed. Our first witness is Jane Robbins. Jane is a novelist who lectures at Cambridge as well. She was now famously thrown out of her North London book group for voting Leave, and then with Julie Burchill co-wrote a successful play about it called People Like Us. How did you come to be such a pariah, and what does it tell you about where we've been and where we're going?
It was quite shocking to me because I wasn't an intentional pariah. I had thought that the people in the book group were my friends, and I thought that we shared common values around, just general civility, and our play actually is really about friendship. And so when myself and a friend of mine were both asked to leave the book group as a matter of honour, because, quotes, we weren't open to reason, it really did quite shake my world. I couldn't compute it. I found it very difficult. And the play is not about my book group at all. We wrote a play about a very different book group that fell apart over Brexit. But it certainly, I wanted to turn a bad thing into a good thing. And that's how it came about.
Excellent. Michael Portello?
You and your friends got on perfectly well before the referendum loomed, and you do indeed share lots and lots of values. So this isn't a symptom of a great cultural division. It's just that Brexit came along and broke you up.
Well, I think it is a symptom of a great cultural division because I had never expected that could happen. And when it did happen, it made me realise that a lot of people in my current world really have a very dim view of people in the world that I came from. So I have a very kind of working class background. My dad drove a lorry up and down the A2, and I've kind of reshaped myself to fit into a North London intellectual world.
And just looking at you pass muster absolutely completely. I mean, you might have been divided by the Suez War or by the Iraq War, but Brexit, we don't even mention the word now. Boris has told us not to. It's passed on. The division will subside and heal.
Well, I wish it was so, because I hate what's happening. But I don't think it's as easy as that, because even in the last few days I've seen things on Twitter saying that Leavers should be put into concentration camps, that we're all xenophobes and racists. And when shortly after the vote, I went home to see my family, and somebody who I'd never taught politics to before said, "They're telling us we're racist, Jane. They're telling us that we're bigots. How dare they? How dare they?" And I'm sad to say I don't think that's gone away. I think I think what Brexit did was blow open a problem that was already there.
But these are very early days, and what prolonged it, what made it so painful, long enough for your book club to break up, was that it was accompanied by political chaos, which meant, of course, that there was the opportunity to reverse the referendum, or so it seemed. Now we've returned to political stability. You'll see how quickly it all settles down and your book club reforms.
So the book club will never reform. I think that the problem is that the slurs against ordinary people are as bad as ever. They haven't stopped, and it's been 3.5 years of it. So I would like us to heal, but I don't think we can heal unless the metropolitan cultural bubble starts to respect the views of ordinary people and not dismiss them en masse as a little bit thick, a little bit xenophobic, a little bit racist. I think that is at the core of the problem that has to be fixed.
Mona Siddiqui?
Jane, if you were to reform a book club, who would you have in it?
I have, amongst my friends, Leavers and Remainers. And I would like to say that the vast majority of Remainers are Democrats. And I'm really talking about people who are quite fixated, who are quite ultra. And the problem for me is not that these people exist. The problem is that they exist in powerful positions. And so that there has to be some sort of cultural change within that sphere of society before we can heal.
But aren't you in danger, the way that you're speaking about, even though you concede that most of the Remainers who are your friends are Democrats, the language that you're using, aren't you in danger of doing this or talking in the same way about Remain voting people as you're criticising them for criticising Leavers, that they call them thick or racist or xenophobes? You're denigrating them as well by calling them belonging to cultural metropolitan elites. And you work at Cambridge University. I mean, what could be more elitist than that?
Yeah, I find myself in a very elitist environment. So what I'm saying is coming from a position of having read a lot of social surveys about this. And I'm sure you're all familiar with Matthew Goodwin at the University of Kent, who has done a great deal of research into what's going on beneath the surface. And beneath the surface, it's being shown again and again and again that the people who call themselves progressive and left and liberal are actually less tolerant of people of another view than people who are not within that cultural bubble. And I think I'm not using that cultural bubble as a slur. I'm, to my mind, merely reporting a fact established by a great many studies.
But do you not think that the real problem is that there is intolerance on both sides?
Of course.
And the intolerance may manifest itself in different ways, but that's really the nub of the problem. And it's easy to cliche people to say they belong to an elite and they are the forgotten, but actually it's different types of intolerance.
I really reject the idea that this is a cliche, and I really think that people have to come to terms with this. I absolutely believe that there's intolerance on both sides because nobody is perfect. And what I'm concerned about is a sort of puritanism on the Remain side that is denigrating a majority vote. And I think that's at the heart of the problems that we have. I'm not a pessimist. I am an optimist. I think we can get over it, but we can only get over it if we are able to find ourselves in a position of mutual respect.